Greetings adventurer and welcome to How to Create. My name is Koroc DM and today I want to talk with you about one-shot adventures and take you with me on my own journey to create a one-shot for my group. I hope to give you a good view on my work process and thoughts on the matter, so you too can create your own one-shot adventures. This is part 2 of How to Create one-shot adventures. If you have seen part 1, you know exactly what kind of encounters you can utilize when creating your own one-shot adventures, as well as what the rule of 5 is and how to use it to give your one-shot a basic structure. If you have not seen part 1 yet, I highly recommend that you watch it first and then come back to watch part 2. In the first half of the video I will talk about the pacing of a one-shot and how you can control the speed of the party's progression to adapt to unplanned events, like them solving your puzzle in 5 minutes or role-playing amongst themselves and some NPC for nearly half an hour. In the second part I will show you how I create a one-shot for one of my own groups. It is planned as the first session of a short adventure series, but can easily be used as a one-shot on its own. But without further beating around the bush, let's jump right into it. The important first step is to know how long your one-shot should take. In most scenarios, there is always a certain wiggle room, but it is always good to have a rough plan so you know if everything is running smoothly. I divide my one-shots into 3 acts and assign each of them a certain amount of time that I want to spend on them. I normally build my one-shots to have a length of 4 hours, so let's assume that that's the length we aim for with this one-shot. The trick is that you know how much time you have planned for every stage. If you have prepared clues and shortcuts to shorten each section, and additional obstacles and distractions to increase the length, you won't have to worry about the time management of your sessions so much. The 3 acts are the intro, the way, and the final. We want to take roughly 1 hour each for the intro and the final, and 2 hours for the way. But let's take a look at the different stages and what makes them unique. The intro should set the tone for the entire one-shot. You want to establish the basic setup, and it is here where the players should understand what their current objective is. Even if it changes over time, when you reveal new informations to them, they should see the direction you want them to head to right now. When the players are in motion, it is easy to stir them or to adapt to their decisions, but if they wander around aimlessly and don't get going, it can feel stagnant and boring really fast, and that is exactly the opposite of what we are trying to achieve. A good starter in my experience is a combat or a roleplay encounter. A combat encounter throws the player directly into the action, and it is pretty clear what the short-term objective is. Just be precise while describing the scene, and if you want them to fight or to flee. The players have a little bit more time to get a feeling for their characters, while still having the opportunity to play and roll some dice. It could be a great way to bring the party together, fighting the same enemy, or just to set things in motion. What are they fighting? Were they attacked in the streets without warning? Or did the combat start because the players awakened the temple guardians? Roleplay can be great for players to interact with each other and to get to know the characters they are all playing. You just should keep in mind to watch the time and throw in the transition hook if they are taking too long or if they don't seem to enjoy the roleplaying with each other and their surroundings. Maybe they want to plan a heist and have to talk to their contact to get the last piece of information they need to do it. Or were they transported to Mechanos and find themselves in a strange clockwork room and have to figure out who the other strangers are that are here with them. I normally combine these 2 kinds of encounters for the intro. So following the rule of 5, we have used 2 of our available encounters. The crux is the roleplay. The players could be done with it way too fast, and then we would reach the end of the intro too soon. A good option to deal with that is to plan for optional encounters, either in Act 1 or in Act 2, but it is optimal to place the alternative inside the intro so we have time to establish the tone before we go into the next act. If you start with roleplay, let them get attacked while they are still talking, but after they had enough time to get into their roles. They can continue their unfinished conversations after the fighting, but now they are a little bit more on the edge and know that the world around them does not wait for them. Of course, you can change things up however it suits your playstyle. This is just the structure that works best for me. But like all rules in D&D, I see them more as guidelines that can help you stir the game into the right direction and make things easier for you to run or play the game. Now that the players know what they are supposed to do, they can get going. We have set them in motion and now they are on their way to reach the final. If they really know where they will end up, or if they don't know the truth yet, is not important. As long as they think they head in the right direction, they stay in motion. This act is all about the journey itself and one of the most crucial parts of the one-shot. Here we need to build up the tension for the final, so that it feels like they accomplished something when they reach the end of the session. The good thing is that we have a lot of time and 2 or 3 encounters depending on the pacing of Act 1. When I talk about encounters, I'm not referring to the number of planned encounters, but the actually played ones. If the players find a way to sneak around a tough fight that they were supposed to spend a lot of time on, don't let them fail by design. Let them feel awesome for avoiding this encounter, using their wits, and use one of your optional encounters I have talked about in the last video. Always keep in mind what informations the players are supposed to take from an encounter. If the guards the players were supposed to fight in the combat we just skipped had an important note, have a roleplay scene instead with a friendly and curious kobold that lives in small tunnels around the area. They could give the party a good spook when they appear out of nowhere, but also show them a good place they all can hide for a moment. There the party can plan the next steps, while the kobold asks the party a ton of questions, dropping hints on what they know about the area. The party gets the same information, but in a different form. They will never know what should have been and were not punished for coming up with a cool plan. The what is important, not the where or how. Keep that in mind. Always have a clock nearby, so you can see how much time you take for each act. Keep in mind that you want to reach the next act at the proper time, so shorten certain encounters as needed if they need too long to progress. For example, the kobold from before could just point them in the right direction for a ration of food, or if they promise to free their favorite pet rat from a cage. If you keep your mind flexible and don't stick too hard to the script you have prepared, it is much easier to adapt to the crazy ideas your players will definitely have. Be prepared to not be prepared for everything. I would like to say that they will not catch you off guard in that case, but we all know that this is not true. The final act, the point the whole session up until now should have been building up to. The great reveal, the fight against the dragon. The capture of the murderer they were looking for. I usually use one encounter and make it worth their time. A combat is a great way to roll some dice and have an epic fight against the BBEG or a gatekeeper, hindering them from claiming their reward. Battles normally last relatively long if you create a boss fight. I may make a whole video on the topic because most creatures in the monster manual just don't serve my needs to create a fun and engaging boss fight. Give the last encounter a twist so that it gets the extra bit of spice to really become memorable. Have multiple stages of the boss fight where henchmen or lesser monsters join in, or the boss transforms into a terrible monstrous form when the party nearly has them down. If you prepare different stages and are good at improvising, you can use that to control the timing when the party will be finished to an exact point. But you have to be careful not to overwhelm them. Don't punish them if you overestimated the time they will need for your one-shot. Maybe at some point an ally appears to help them and to give them some kind of second wind. Maybe the kobold from before is so thankful for saving their rat, they throw them some potions and join the fight with a bow. Reference things the party has done along the way, so it feels more like everything has built up to exactly that moment. Take your time after they finished the last encounter and give them an outro where you summarize what the party and maybe even the individual characters are now doing. This helps to round things up and to make it more like the ending of a short story. I would suggest only roughly planning this part and referencing things the players have done or said during the session. The main reason is so you have the option to adapt to your time schedule, but also makes it really personal by bringing everything together. Keep it short if you're running out of time, or even give them a final full-fledged goodbye role-playing scene if you have a lot of time left and the atmosphere allows it. A quick disclaimer regarding the rule of 5. If you want to play a shorter version of a one-shot, maybe at a convention, or a longer version if you have the whole weekend, you will most definitely have to change up the numbers of encounter or their duration. But the pacing tips discussed in this video are a great guideline for any length if you keep the ratio of 1/4, 2/4 and 1/4 in mind. To summarize, the trick is that you know how much time you have planned for every act of your one-shot. If you have prepared clues and shortcuts to shorten each section and additional obstacles and distractions to increase the length, you have all tools you need to adapt to most of your players' actions. I know I promised you an example one-shot for this video, but I have the ambition to present you something really good. For this reason, the one-shot gets its own video. The script is almost complete and I only have to record and edit it, so don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the upcoming one-shot, A Quest for Friends. Since I have a lot of work to do, I have to see how fast I can finish the video. If you want to help me to create videos on a more regular basis, it would help me out immensely if you consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. With this, we have reached the end of today's video. I originally wanted to make this into one video, but during recording I added more to the script and now the one-shot video with tips for time pacing became much longer than planned. Ironic, I know. But I had a lot of fun making this video and I will definitely make more videos like this one. Thanks for sticking with me till the end. You can make my day by giving this video a like and share it with your friends. It helps me out immensely. You can follow me on Instagram if you like to see cool maps with little plot hooks you could use in your own games. I put the links down in the doobly-doo. Your Dungeon Master for this video was Koroc DM, and I hope you join me in the next one.